For Off the Block, I'm Van Lipson. We are now joined by Princeton men's volleyball head coach Sam Shweisky and also the new head coach of the U.S. men's youth national team. We'll get to that in a second. But, Coach, I want to ask you, you're opening the season Tuesday against Ohio State. What's the mindset of your team opening the season against a top 10 nationally ranked team?
Well, I think we're pretty excited. We got a chance to play Ohio State on their floor last year. They're obviously a great team and extremely well coached. I got a chance to work with Coach B. Hansen this summer. He's a class act, just a fantastic coach. Actually, was just inducted into the ABC Hall of Fame. But yeah, they're a great program, and that's kind of been our goal early in the season is to get as many top programs as we can on the schedule. And typically we head out to California, usually end of January, and we've got UCLA and San Diego and Concordia lined up. But to get a chance to play Ohio State this early in the season in Dillon was just a great opportunity. And he called me this summer and said he was coming through this area and wanted to know if we wanted to pick up a match, and he couldn't turn it down. I mean, it's just a great opportunity to get us at the speed that we need to be at. And I think, as much as we can work to recreate the speed and the tempo of a top-tier environment on the opposing side in our practice gym, there's nothing like getting the real deal in front of the lights at home. And so to be able to play Ohio State in Dillon is pretty exciting. So we're very fired up.
Yeah, Coach, one of your returning starters who may not be a household name, but potentially could have a big breakthrough year this season is your setter Chris Kanyon. Can you just talk a little bit about what he's able to bring to the court for you guys, especially after last year being an all-conference setter?
Yeah, I think Chris comes from a great pedigree. Played at Loyola High School for Coach Michael Boley and played from an MB Surf, and just comes from a real volleyball environment. And he's been starting since his freshman year, so he's got 2 years of starting underneath his belt. He's got a great jump serve that's just getting better and better. And I think his decision making is getting better. I think this year you'll see we don't have one dominant player. I think in the past sometimes our offense got a little bit stagnant because we really had to rely on one or two guys, and I think we're going to have a really balanced offense this year, which is certainly from a setting standpoint exciting because it means he can sort of move the ball around and try some different things and get a bunch of guys involved. So I'm excited about it. He's also done a really good job in the last few months taking on a leadership role and kind of stepping up. He does a great job of organizing the guys off the court, and I think a lot of the leadership that he's shown in the preseason and the fall is really going to translate to on the court as he makes a big push to be one of the leading forces on this team.
And as a coach, I do want to ask you about that because, last year your offense, you had, Cody Castle, some big name players you could set to. How do you change that mindset of a team where you're trying to become a more balanced offense? What do you do to try and instill that in your players' minds to run more balanced offense?
Well, I think actually it's sometimes the opposite. I think sometimes the harder thing is when you have such a dominant player like Cody Castle, it's harder in a team dynamic like that to convince the guys, hey, you've got to be ready for when he does set you. Because so many balls are going to Cody that, when you do get set, you're not ready. And that's hard to stay in rhythm. I think now, without one sort of clear-cut dominant guy, I think so many guys, I think everyone's ready and chomping at the bit and wants the ball. It's kind of like a bunch of siblings at the dinner table just trying to fight and scrap for those bits of food. So there's not much that we've had to do. I think Cody's gone and Will's gone, and some of that senior leadership that we had, Tony's gone. And I think we started at the end of last year, kind of in the May into the summer, kind of developing this new core of guys, and I think the tins are hungry, the middles are hungry, like everyone wants a piece of the action, and it's going to be exciting to see who steps up and who becomes a leader in that environment.
Yeah. Coach, last year your team was known as a very aggressive serving team. Can we expect that same type of aggression from your team from the service line this year?
Yeah, that's a really polite way of putting it. We were a very aggressive serving team, and I think we overshot the mark a little bit. I think we were trying to simplify things and really sort of look at absolutes and black and white and say we were just going to go for it. And I think we're trying to adopt a little bit more mature mindset. And not to say that we're not going to stay aggressive from the service line, but we definitely are going to be a little more tempered and look at can we find a way to put the ball in the court at a higher percentage rate while being aggressive, and can we maybe dial it back to certain guys at certain points and keep the pressure on. So I think it's still going to be definitely a core philosophy of ours, but just in analyzing the stats and some of the matches from last year, the number of balls that we miss really inhibited our ability to let the great serving impact some more wins. So I think you can expect it to be a little bit more conservative than last year, but definitely still on the aggressive side.
Yeah. And, not only do you have Ohio State coming to your gym this year, but you also have some other big non-conference home matches, including playing host to BYU. What does that mean for you and the program to get some of these top-ranked teams to come to your place and you don't have to travel across the country?
It's really cool. We've always sort of, we don't mind traveling, and we always love going out to California. That's where our biggest sort of alumni fan base is, and so that's a staple trip, and it's a great way to pick up some teams out there. But yeah, to get Ohio State and BYU to come play at Dillon, it's pretty cool. I think BYU is the first MPSS school we've ever had in Dillon, so that's a really cool opportunity. And they're ranked pretty high. I think they might be ranked number 1 to start the season, and they're a great team. And we're excited the opportunity to play that kind of speed and that kind of power. And with all the non-conference games, we just look at each one as an opportunity to help prepare us for our conference matches. We're not as wrapped up in the hype of RPI and all those types of things. We just want to be great in conference and try to win our conference. So we look at every non-conference match as an opportunity to improve ourselves. And certainly BYU here is a great way to do that. So we're really excited about it.
Yeah, and USA Volleyball, stepping aside a little bit from Princeton, but USA Volleyball came out a couple weeks ago and announced that you would be the head coach for the U.S. Boys Youth National Team. What type of honor or reaction did you have when you heard that announcement?
I really just couldn't be more humbled and appreciative. I've been working with USA Volleyball for probably 12 years if you count the women's side, and really more like 8 or 9 years on the men's side. And just really so appreciative. I can't thank Dan Friend enough. I was an assistant with him in the junior national team the last 2 years, and being with him, I really felt like I put myself in a position to be an assistant again this cycle, and to have the confidence from the national team staff and office to be voted as the head coach for the youth national team is really humbling and exciting and a huge honor for me. And then the group of staff that's been put together that I'm going to get a chance to work with is just, I pinch myself every time I think about it, because it's just a tremendous group of not only talented guys, but guys that work extremely hard, really some brilliant minds in the game, and I think we're just going to have a great time. Brad Keller from UCLA is going to be my associate head coach, who, he's just one of the most brilliant coaches in the game today. And then Theo Edwards from Cal State Northridge is fantastic. He's going to be working with us as an assistant. And then Kevin Birch is another assistant going to be on staff, more in the technical data boy role, but he brings such a wealth of knowledge, I think, with so many programs and now at Ohio State. So really excited about the core group that we have in terms of the staff. And we got a chance to meet out at Anaheim a few weeks ago and take our first look at a couple guys that USA had on and kick around some ideas. And then this past week in San Diego, getting a chance to run the holiday camp, I got a chance to look at. We had 36 athletes there, and I think probably a good portion of those guys are going to be in the mix, for this tryout roster that we want to bring in and look at the core of the guys who are going to have training. So it's an amazing opportunity, and I couldn't be more excited.
Yeah. Well, I do want to ask you about the holiday camp, and I know that we can't get into the specific players, but just an overall sense. What are you seeing from this class that maybe that impressed you?
Well, I tell you, it's pretty cool. I've worked at holiday camp. This is my 4th or 5th year in a row, and so I've actually seen some of those guys through the USA system at the future select level, into the select level, and now at the youth level. And it just really speaks volumes to the job that USA Volleyball, Colin Powers in particular, in the last, I think, 10 to 15 years, has just done such an amazing job really growing boys volleyball. When I just started working with this 7 or 8 years ago, there was a select group, but it was small, and now we have a future select that gets kids super young, gets them involved. And the coaches we have in the pipeline are outstanding. So kids come to the select level, and they already understand some of the higher level concepts of volleyball. By the time they get to us with the youth team, it's pretty good. So this past week was awesome. We got a chance to do some pretty high level stuff. Some of the athletes in the gym are pretty physical. We're pretty excited about some of the options we have at the opposite position. Trying to see how many guys we can get to actually ball control. If we can get a couple of these high flyers to ball control and then play on the pin, you could see a really physical lineup out there, come this summer, which we're pretty excited about, because at the end of the day, you got to be able to serve and pass, but you got to be able to terminate. And I think especially when we get into the World Championship year, terminating at the pin is going to be a huge part of it. So really excited about the depth that we have. Not everyone that we were looking at was able to make the holiday camp. Obviously, it's holiday time, and flights are expensive, so it's a tough time to get everybody there. But we had a nice nucleus of guys there, and just a matter of now making sure, hopefully, that everyone that we're looking at tries out in the USA system, so we can keep an eye on them leading forward to the trainings this summer.
Yeah, and I'd love to get your thoughts on this, because obviously you're heavily involved in Princeton recruiting, you're involved in USA Volleyball, seeing these younger players. Is there a trend that you're seeing among these younger players where, hey, these new generations of players really get this aspect of volleyball where maybe 5-10 years ago they didn't get that?
That's a really good question. I think probably one of the biggest trends we've seen in the last 5 or 10 years is that there's just more volleyball available to watch online. And so one of the kids at the camp was asking me something. He said, "Well, I watch a lot of the Russian and the Polish pro leagues," and he said, "I noticed that they tend to add a system. They tend to do this." And I was like, "Yeah, that's exactly right. That's awesome. That at 15 years old or 16 years old, you're watching Russian professional volleyball every night or every other night." And I think just the fact, because so many of these matches are streamed, whether it's the RNCAA college matches or the pro matches, so much volleyball, high-level volleyball is available online. I think kids start watching at a young age and can really study and analyze and sort of take some of those techniques into their game. So it's pretty cool. We see some kids at the holiday camp that maybe they're not quite there yet, but they're attempting to do some things. I mean, running the big pretty fast, doing some in-tempo stuff that I don't know if 10 years ago we might have exposed the kids to those techniques, but they might have seen them done at a high level consistently to model after. So I think that's probably the biggest thing you see is just more access, via internet and whatnot for kids to watch volleyball, which I think is going to have a big impact on the level, especially as these kids grow into their bodies and can do more things physically that they've learned how to do technically.
Yeah. And final question for you, Coach. I just want to jump a little bit back to the college season. You look at the EIVA this season, there just seems to be a lot of optimism about a lot of the programs this year. Do you feel that this conference is going to be deeper than we've seen in the last couple of years, which has already been pretty deep?
Absolutely. I think, like you said, we've been pretty deep the last couple of years, but it's just getting better and better. I think, we graduated, a bunch of teams graduated a bunch of key seniors last year. Obviously, Aaron Russell, and Nick Goodell from Penn State, and then obviously Cody Castle, Tony Hansberry, Will Soroki from here, and Caleb Simic and DJ White from Harvard were some key players in the league that were all seniors last year. But, you look at a lot of the teams and a bunch of these teams reload, a bunch of these younger teams get better. I think it's going to be a dogfight to make it to the EIVA playoffs, and I think some of these teams are going to cause some noise outside of our conference, and even the MTSF and the Conference Carolinas, which should be pretty exciting. So, yeah, we're excited for the season. I think Charleston, we're excited to make that trip and see those guys. I think the more we talk to their staff, their administration, they're really behind volleyball. And, we're excited for that school to grow, and as they add more and more pieces to their program, make them a perennial power in the league. So, yeah, I think it's going to be a good year, and there's definitely a lot of optimism. Some new coaches in the league. Obviously, Jay Hopsick and George Mason has put a bunch of energy into that team, and they return a ton of players. They're going to be strong. I think Greg Walker brings in some fresh energy to Sacred Heart. Danny Gonzalez now catching some inertia and some speed with his stuff at NJIT. Those guys are moving along. Lumley obviously has some guys returning at St. Francis that are going to be strong. So it's going to be a good year, and I think we're excited to start this non-conference and kind of get some scrimmages under our belt to see where we're at, and then get in the conference, because it's going to be a battle.